Well, hey there, Redemption Army, and welcome back to our weekly chat. And today we're going to dive into a topic that hits pretty close to home for all of us, and that is signs that you're healing from narcissistic abuse. I know how tough this journey can be, but trust me, I promise you are not alone on this, because as a survivor of narcissistic abuse, I'm here to walk this path with you and share some signs that indicate that you are healing and growing stronger every day. So let's dive in. Actually, before we do, make sure that you stick around to the end of the video, because I've got personal stories and insights that I'm going to share with you that I really think are going to resonate. Also, if you aren't already, just make sure that you subscribe so you don't miss any of our weekly chats. One of the first key signs that you're healing from narcissistic abuse is the ability of embracing your own emotions, but specifically anger. This one surprises a lot of people, but I want you to think about this. For the longest time, you have had to suppress your own feelings just to keep the peace. But now, you're starting to find your voice again, you're starting to see things for what they are, and you might even have already started standing up for yourself. And I will promise you, it's okay to be angry. It's a natural response to the injustice that you've experienced. So let that anger fuel your healing process and continue to motivate you to get stronger. I'll be honest, even though being angry is liberating, it can also be equally frustrating, because I didn't want to be angry over such a terrible person and continue to give him this space in my head. But once I acknowledged the fact that that feeling was valid and that it existed, it was like this weight was lifted off my shoulders, because I was able to just embrace the anger, and it was kind of the first step for me reclaiming my power. The trick was that I didn't want to let it turn into bitterness. If that is something that you're struggling with, just like I did, watch this video here, because I talk about how I worked that process of letting things go. As we heal, we start to piece the puzzle together of the past relationship with the narcissistic person. And we begin to see these patterns of manipulation and realize that much of what happened in the relationship wasn't actually our fault. Yet, yes, there were responsibilities that we need to accept and accept some of the decisions that we made that were harmful to ourselves, but all the time that the blame was shifted on you, the times that you were called crazy, even though your gut was telling you that you weren't, we start to have this newfound clarity. And it helps us break free from this cycle of self-blame and understand that we deserved and deserve so much better and so much more than they were capable of giving us. At first, even though I knew that leaving was the right decision for me, it was like the good times were haunting me. It just kept popping up. But as I started to connect the dots and saw all these red flags that I ignored, it really just became evident how entangled I was in this web of toxicity. And I understood the manipulation tactics. I stopped romanticizing the past, and I realized that no amount of good memories that I could have had or experienced outweigh the fact that I was made to feel scared and insecure in my own home. And this just allowed me to start shifting that focus to building a healthier future for myself, but more importantly, set up clear non-negotiables for my next relationship whenever I was ready to tackle that again. Also means rediscovering the things that you used to love and finding joy in them again. See, narcissistic abusers, they often try to isolate us and strip us away of our passions. But as we heal and as we reclaim those lost parts of ourselves and reconnect these activities, it does help to bring not only happiness, but the healthy habits and routines. They also give your brain a sense of peace and security. Your life was very tumultuous for a very long time, and you had very little consistency. So these routines can actually end up being a natural anxiety tamer. Working out was a huge passion of mine, and it's not even necessarily for the physical health or aesthetics, but it's more the mental benefits. But during my relationship, I almost stopped doing it completely altogether. And I remember there were times that my health was even being sabotaged, because I would say that I wanted to start eating healthy again and getting active, and that would always be the time that he would want to start cooking all of these his favorite southern meals, fried chicken and mashed potatoes and all this stuff. And I would try to remind him I appreciate this, but I am also I'm trying to eat better and all of that. And I would just be shamed about it, and he would make me feel bad and say I didn't appreciate it and that he's cooking me his mother's recipes, which he's never done for anybody before. And so I finally just stopped asking, because I didn't want to seem ungrateful. But after I got out and the initial shock wore off and I started to reincorporate these healthy routines, I started to realize how much I really needed them. because there were times where I would go for a run, and after my run was over, I would just start sobbing. And I didn't even necessarily know why, but it really just became this way for me to like escape the world for a minute, escape the pain, get out of my head. It's just me, my feet, and the pavement. Everything else went away, and it just really became very healing for me. I'm not saying you need to start running, but you just need to find something that works for you, whatever that healthy habit and routine is. Find something that allows you to just be present in yourself and be present in the moment. Sometimes one of two things will happen after we get out of these relationships initially. We either continue to accidentally stay in this place of isolation, or it's more the route that I took, which is I was terrified of being alone. So if you are like me and you have trouble being alone, when you start to find yourself embracing these moments of solitude, you realize that being alone doesn't necessarily mean that you're lonely. It's just a chance to reconnect to yourself and also focus on your own self-care. Like I said, I became an expert at avoiding being alone because just being in the house just triggered me. So like if my kids weren't there, I wasn't home. But as I started to heal and I started to, I reached this point of just absolute burnout, and I almost lost my job over it. And that was kind of my wake-up call that I can't do this anymore. So I started to really rediscover the joy of my own company, and I know that may sound a little weird, but I started practicing journaling and checking in with myself emotionally and just enjoying these quiet moments with my favorite TV show and a drink or whatever it may be. And just being alone gave me that time for self-reflection and also led to growth. One of the most significant signs of healing is that even though you may still have these moments where you feel like you miss them, you ultimately know deep down that you do not want them back in your life. And you've come to realize that your worth is not defined by their approval or their presence in your life, and that you deserve a partnership that nurtures you and uplifts you. Let me tell you what, this one hit me like a ton of bricks because I felt like I missed him more than I actually did. So what I used to do is I used to ask myself like, okay, well, what do I miss? But more importantly, what do I not miss? And that list was always pretty long. And it was a self-reflection thing that I would do that showed me that I didn't really miss him as a person. I just miss having a partner. And it's okay that I want that. But just because there's a void there in my life did not mean that he was the right person to fill that void. I want you to know that healing is not linear. It does take time and it does take work, but the fact that you're even doing things like watching this video and seeking support, it shows that you are building that resiliency factor. So just know that you're not alone and you are worthy of love and happiness.